everybody in the internet world. I'm here because I wanted to talk about something. This year my sort of social media online focus, I wanted to broaden a bit so that it wasn't just me documenting what I'm up to, but more of looking at life more holistically and the things that I like to do to try and be a better performer and person. Like my Instagram's little snippet says, my journey with a dash of what keeps me happy, healthy and centered in a world full of travel, late nights and a whole lot of rejection. So I've been doing some posts and it's been really lovely to get your feedback, thank you. And it was something I wanted to write about, and I started writing and I had a whole lot to say, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll try and put this into hopefully a relatively short video for you. I never take videos unless they're of songs or of auditions, and I find it a whole lot harder to speak than to sing, but anyway, here we all are. So what I wanted to talk about was nerves and stage fright, and often that's what people will ask. They'll say, oh, do you still get nervous? And yes, you do, but it depends, number one, on the context that you're in and what kind of pressure there is, but also as you become more experienced, you learn how to manage those nerves better, and you can sort of sit on top of them and ride them and be in control. So in this video I wanted to talk about a few of the little methods that I use in my life in the build up to something to help me feel more in control and not be thinking about the things that make me nervous and be really present in what I'm doing. Some of you might see this and you might go, you might have stumbled across it somehow and you go, well, I'm not a performer, I don't care, go, good for you. But I think these sort of little snippets help a whole range of things in our lives. The most obvious things are anything to do with public speaking. You might be doing a lecture, a presentation, anything where you're putting yourself on the line and you want to make the best impression and you might be feeling quite nervous. A job interview, dating to an extent, so hopefully some of these wee pieces of information you might find something useful in it. So the first idea I wanted to talk about, or method, is the breath. And when I say the breath, I don't mean a singer's breath, I don't mean anything technical. I just literally mean getting your breath settled and back into your body. Anybody who does yoga, meditation, fitness, you'll know that the breath is huge. And when our body is feeling scared, fight or flight, basically, the quickest and most sure way to get ourselves settled back and know that we're safe on a subconscious level is through the breath. So what I would suggest doing is counting your breathing. So I would breathe in for 3, hold for 3, out for 3. Some people might like to do it for longer. It's not meant to be a long thing. If that's how you naturally do it, fine. But the point is not to slow it way down, but to bring your awareness back into the breath. And something you might add into this, which is something I'll talk about a little bit later in this video, is you might add some kind of affirmation. So I might be doing that before a show and I might go, I breathe in confidence. Breathe in for 3, hold for 3, out for 3. Or I breathe in self-belief. In for 3, hold for 3, out for 3. Really to get yourself back into your body, get your brain in on you, be centered. The second method I would like to talk about is visualization, and this is something for me I sort of started doing more on a general life scale, and I think visualization is huge. I think often we don't give the mind and the brain enough credit, but I think just learn a bit about placebo effect and you'll see how epic it is. So visualization wise, this is something that you could do in the months leading up to something if you really wanted to work on it, or you might do it the day of, a week leading up, or right before you go on stage. It can be sort of whatever process is most helpful to you or what you think you need. And really what you want to do with visualization is be as specific as you can. You want to be thinking of all your 5 senses and be experiencing those in the moment of that performance or that experience that you're working on. So I would, well, one thing I really started working on it for was for auditions. So I would scope out the venue, I would know where I was going, and I would imagine in my brain, close my eyes, visualize these images of me turning up for my audition, and I knew where everything was, I knew how it was set out. I would visualize the people that I knew were going to be there, and I would visualize my performance of me being really in control and me sort of nailing everything that I wanted to achieve in that performance, and the feeling that I had of achieving that, and the response of whoever was watching, whether it was the panel for that audition or the audience. And for this, for some people it might sound a bit airy-fairy, but I think it can have huge results. I had this moment where I really felt like I had been there already. I feel safe because I've already done it in my mind, and I had nothing to be afraid of, and that was a pretty cool feeling. Recently, I would do it before a show that I was doing. I would do it side of stage. I would be there maybe before the opening of the show, and then at half time again I would be standing in the wings, and for whatever was coming up in that part of the show I would be visualizing that, and I would be feeling that whole thing of feeling present in that moment, knowing that you're safe, being there, imagining the audience response, whatever you wanted that to be. And that really helps on getting yourself centered too, and knowing your purpose of being there. I think visualization in general is huge. If you want to bring it into your daily life, you might do it in the morning, even if you did it for 20 seconds up to 2 minutes. And you could imagine, it might be something about the gym, imagining what you're doing at the gym and smashing your goals fitness wise, or it might simply be visualizing your day and seeing yourself performing all the tasks that you need to do in that day, performing them with confidence, with ease, you're getting things done, you're being productive. So that might be visualizing yourself making calls and having really confident calls, business calls, or your emails or your meetings, but really getting yourself, setting up that headspace and that mindset for that day. And I think for performances it is huge. Athletes do it a lot. Their head game is something that is really stressed and really important, and they often have really good coaches for this, Olympians and other athletes. And I think for a lot of us it can be something that's sort of overlooked, but actually it is really, really helpful if we can implement it into our daily lives. And for people who do things in the public eye, it can be really helpful for that as well. The other method I wanted to talk about, well, one other method I wanted to talk about is affirmations. And so I talked about that a wee bit with the breathing. You could do the breath and say an affirmation before you breathe in. I think, again, affirmations were something I had always kind of known about and never really done or never really stuck to. I felt like people or readings would suggest you stand in front of the mirror and say these certain things, and that, to be honest, can be a really confronting thing to do, and maybe you don't like it. But I started doing them in the mornings for a whole bunch of different things, but then learnt to do them before a show. And it's not to be the point, it's not a cocky thing, but I think negative self-talk is huge. We always have this sort of gremlin on our shoulder ripping us down, which, yes, it's good to be critical of yourself. You need to know where you stand, what your abilities are, things you need to work on. That is a huge important part of growing. But there are times when we really need to back ourselves. So you might find things that you could say in the morning. If you're not sure what that would be, think about the things that you're really passionate, the things you're passionate about, the things that you care about, and the areas you want to grow. If it's for a performance, I think, or for a presentation or anything like that that feels really important, a big part of it is feeling, I think, worthy of doing that. I think a lot of us can often have imposter syndrome, or we feel like perhaps we're not worthy of doing this. Why am I here? So to tell yourself even that I am worthy, whether it's in your head or you say it out loud in private, and that you are deserving of the opportunities that come your way. And then I would, tell myself, I'm going to do a really good show. I'm going to, one that I had read was, today I will let myself shine. And recently I would tell myself that every time before I walked on stage. And I think it's just a really good way. Again, you're adding to your headspace, you're getting yourself in the right place. If you plant a seed of a negative thought, it's probably going to come out somehow. So, you know, you might say, I'm going to know all of my lines, my memory will be fine, I'm going to have a great time on stage, the audience is really going to enjoy me, or I'm going to give my talk confidently. But really, it's, yeah, this idea that your thoughts create your world and you're allowed to back yourself sometimes. The last idea I wanted to talk about is probably the most obvious and perhaps the most boring, but do your work, do your preparation. The last thing you want to be worrying about when you're doing something is your lines or your words or your speech. So do as much prep as you can. I remember when I probably started doing my very first singing competitions, somebody said to me, I'm never going to wish you good luck. It's not about luck, it's about preparation. And I think that is very, very true. When you have those things under your belt, things in your brain really well memorized or whatever, then you're allowed to play. You can feel a room if you're doing a talk, or feel an audience if you're doing a show, and you can be present in that moment rather than in your head going, I'm scared I'm not going to remember the lines. Also, to add to preparation a little bit, like I talked about with the visualization, scope out the joint. If you're going to do a talk, go see what it's like, go see what the space is like, see how it feels, get in the day before or whenever you can. Give yourself time to get to the venue. All these things of just have a contingency plan or a bit of extra time, because then otherwise you're going to arrive at this place, things can often go wrong or you get held up doing something else, and then your breathing's really high and you don't get time to do any of these things. So you're giving yourself the best possible opportunity to do the best job that you can. Other ideas are more sort of environmental things. So once you get, I guess, in the sort of practice of doing things, finding things that you like that help you feel calm and centered too. Some of the random things I do but quite like to do is, say I have a dressing room and there's a whole lot of different lighting. I like to dim it all down and make it feel really snug and kind of safe and not exposed. Like the stage can often feel really exposed. You might find you like having a cup of chamomile tea or something like that just to settle your nerves. I really like lavender oil. I put it on my wrists or behind my ears sometimes. Obviously you can't carry around lavender oil everywhere you go, but little things like that allow yourself to kind of experiment and go, okay, what are the things that, and they don't have to be major, but it becomes more of a ritual. So you have this process of doing those things. Also, to go along with the preparation, giving yourself time to do all of this stuff, as I said before. Sit down in your dressing room, when you're backstage or wherever you are, or if you're at uni, and to just relax, not be rushed, hone in on all of these ideas, and then feel like you can get up and be energized and ready to do your best job. So those are some of my somewhat meandering thoughts, but I hope you might find some of this helpful. Throw out a comment if you've got any thoughts, if there's something you agree with or something else you like to do, or if you have any questions about anything or you would like some resources to go and read. Also, if you have anything else you might be curious about that you might like me to have a chat about sometime, please let me know. Thank you very much for listening.